running Saturday morning on the Krueg Show. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to September the 16th, 9:16 on the West Coast, 16 minutes afternoon on the East Coast, as we get ready for the Niners and the Rams from SoFi on a Sunday coming up tomorrow. Who's in the house? The coach.
Let's get it, Larry.
Let's do it. Let's do it on our Saturday morning show. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out, Emeryville, Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Get the brisket chili. Say hi to Damon. Say hi to Mary. Tell them that Krueg sent you. We're also brought to you by New York Style Sausage Company and Marin Auto Glass, marinautoglass.com, 415-883-3030. We're also brought to you by Mojo Fantasy, and we'll tell you a little bit about Mojo Fantasy and the 5 fantasy players that I have cooking tomorrow in the NFL, including 3 that involve Niners-Rams. So we'll get into that. Mojo Fantasy. Click the link in the description, type in the promo code Krueg, and Mojo Fantasy will absolutely do you right, and we'll talk more about them in a bit. All right, let's get right into it, Coach. Niners won last Sunday in impressive fashion, going into Heinz Field, slapping around the Steelers 30-7. A game that a lot of people thought was going to be a Steeler victory. If they had the Niners, they thought it was going to be close. It wasn't close. It was the Niners in a rout. It could have been a bigger margin than it actually was because the Niners kind of called off the dogs in the second half, playing soft coverage all throughout the second half. The stat sheet in that game is not worth reading simply because the Steelers didn't get a first down until the 2-minute warning of the first half, and only because the Niners played soft coverage in the second half did the Steelers move the ball. I mean, that's kind of the way I saw it. But, Coach, we haven't spoken since that game, so why don't we start right then and right there. What'd you think of the Niner big win in Pittsburgh?
We outclassed them. Simply put, we outclassed them in all facets of the game except special teams. I will say that was an area where I just felt like there was consistent issues on particularly kickoff return. They were getting a chunk. They were getting swaths of yards at one point every time, and rightfully so because we were scoring so much. we got a chance to see a lot of their kickoffs. So outside of special teams, we completely outclassed them, and then really in special teams, I mean, you could almost kind of squash that argument, if you will, with Jake Moody having such a good day and the kicking game in general. So I feel like we outclassed them. I feel like Brock did an exceptional job. Brock is better than last year. He has more command with the offense that he did last year. It's clear. And those are some of the things that you look for that just jumps at you right away instead of like trying to dig into the weeds and figure out exactly what you want to see. Just, naturally watch and see what just pops out to you. And watching Brock, that was the first thing that popped out to me, was that he just has tremendous command over the offense. I get the feeling that he knows the offense better now that he's actually had more reps with the ones, and his processing is A1. I mean, as far as like the anticipation is concerned, with his arm talent, like notwithstanding, the anticipation, the accuracy, the arm slots, throwing from different launch points, like you got a chance to kind of see a full menu of that from Brock this past game that they went out. Defensively, they did an amazing job. But defense is different from offense, in my opinion, from a standpoint of it's just stress testing. Sometimes you want to see a defense get tested to see if they can do things. Now, Pittsburgh only ran the ball 10 times, albeit because they were struggling to win a game, right? So we did a good job against what they did against us on the run, but Najee is not the type of back that's really just going to pop. He is the type of back that you're going to have to give a full workload to throughout the day. And it's hard to do that with a back when you're down. right? And he did have a couple of good runs that were called back by penalties. So as far as the run game is concerned, or how we stop the run, TBD, right? I was thrilled on what we did in the past game. We looked very good. We looked efficient. We looked strong and stout. I feel like Travarius Ward, notwithstanding of what he's supposed to do as our number one corner, I was very impressed with Demo. He just looks bigger, more filled out. He plays more aggressive, plays more assertive. Even when he's making mistakes, you can see that he's doing it at 1,000 miles per hour, right? That's what you want to see. And when you see that, you could tell that as a DB, the game, I don't know if the game is slowed down for him. We haven't seen enough yet, but the game definitely doesn't intimidate him anymore. I don't feel as though there's any moments that he's not ready for. He's been out there long enough, and you can kind of see he's kind of got his big boy pants on now. Fred Warner is much better in the run game. He actually he's always been stout in the run game, but now he's just finishing. He's actually being the hammer and not the nail. Not necessarily filling the gap, but delivering a blow, knocking guys back, not finishing off of scrum tackles or gang tackling, actually being the guy to stick his nose in there. Now, Fred does that. He's always been great at east to west doing that in the run game, but I'm just starting to see, even in the Pittsburgh game, I felt like he was a little bit more north south with with how he stopped the run. Conversely, DJ Greenlaw, Dre Greenlaw, I was very happy with how he seemed to take his aggression a tick down from last year. I feel everybody wants linebackers to play as rough and as hard and fast as possible, but there were times that where he was last year where he played a little bit outside of his frame. He was too physical, getting penalties, kind of over committing, being a little bit too overzealous. And I feel as though in this game you saw Dre, I don't want to say picking his spots because that would constitute that I think that he's not playing hard the whole time. But in a way, picking his spots with his aggression. I feel like a player of his caliber has more than enough aggression to go around. And you see him calibrating it now. There's a time and a place for you to go all out. And just to kind of put a cherry, just to kind of like tie that together with Dre, is last year he was actually so physical, he was hurting himself, right? He was actually getting hurt from hitting people too hard. You could see him actually toning down in games after he was blowing people up because he had to preserve himself just to finish the game. That's something that you don't want to see, that I didn't see this game. So you hope to see that. Safety wise, Huff looked good. Gift looked good. Huff actually looks like the game, weirdly enough, it looks like the game is actually slowing down for Huff. You don't.
Well, it should. He's a young player.
Yeah.
He hasn't played that much football in the NFL.
Right.
But you're right. He outside of that lateral, which was not very smart. Huff made big plays.
It was ill-advised.
What struck me about that game more than anything was the calmness of Brock Purdy in that situation. Especially in the first half. You haven't played in a while. It's week one. You're coming back from the injury. The place is howling, the terrible towels. All the momentum is with the home team. It's week one. Steelers have a gaudy record week one. They got a killer pass rush. And he just like, yeah, okay. He's like, they did the close-up from behind, the camera in the end zone. And you can just see his face, and he's just like calm. Very calm, going through the progressions, came out, starts, spreading it around, a little short passing game, some timely runs. Team gets into a rhythm, go for it on fourth down. Thought that was a nice little maneuver there by Shanahan. But overall, the thing that really struck me was just the calmness of Brock Purdy in that situation for a second-year quarterback. Kenny Pickett looked young. Brock Purdy looked like a 6-year vet. They were in the same draft class. So, and both played a lot of college football. So it just kind of goes to show that, Purdy is unique in that he's got it between the ears. He's got the processing ability. He's pretty accurate. He doesn't have a big arm, but the big arm burns you 3-4 times a game. The lack of a big arm, the ability to process benefits you on every snap. And he just sits there, back there in the pocket, and at the line of scrimmage, and he just seemed very in control, very calm, very methodical. Didn't throw a lot of balls into harm's way. Didn't make a lot of stupid plays. Threw the ball away when he needed to. Found a number of receivers. So that my first takeaway was Brock looks calm. And then CMC, Ayuk, and Debo look primed, just primed for monster years. And the O-line was good enough. The D-line obviously looked overpowering. And to me, the other thing that really stood out was that even though we didn't really see it, a lot of hitting until the second half from Greenlaw, more Warner in the first half. But those guys are in what I would call the super prime. They're in the career year. I mean, the same way that Ayuk and CMC and Debo are in the career year super prime on offense, Greenlaw and Warner are in that super prime on defense. They're not old, but they're not rookies. They know the system, so they can play fast. They can play physical. They're still in their physical prime. I thought Greenlaw and Warner were smacking guys, hard all game. They had like 14 combined tackles. They were just, I mean, it was funny. Debo in this like kind of documentary type thing the Niners put out on earlier this week, kind of looking back at that game, which was really well done. If you follow me on Twitter, I tweeted it out. You can go check it out. I forget exactly what it's called. Something 30 or 49 or I don't know. It's the 49ers something. But it's a replay. And they had Debo after the anthem going down, shaking hands with all of his teammates, and he's saying different things. Well, when he gets to Greenlaw and Warner, he's just like, the greatest in the effing world. The greatest in the effing world. And it's like, that's how Warner and Greenlaw carry themselves. Like, they are the greatest linebackers in the league today. And maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I mean, I'm willing to listen to other people's nominations for great linebackers. All I know is, and we both know this, they're great. How they rank, where they rank, I'll let somebody else exactly define that. But these guys are great, and they're in their prime. So it was an overwhelm. I expected the Niners to win. I predicted them to win. I had said weeks prior that I thought they would win big, but as it got closer, I kind of hedged and went with more of like a 31-24 type score, which is not winning.
I thought they
big.
were going to lose.
But I mean, to me, what was the big surprise, Coach, was not that they won. It was kind of how they won and by how impressive it was.
Okay.
Because I didn't expect them to put on a clinic, and they kind of took it to the Steelers. And maybe it's shame on us for giving the Steelers more credit, or who knows? Maybe we'll find out in week 2 the Steelers are pretty badass, and it was just all the Niners. But the Niners made the Steelers look like they were on a lower level. I would say
outclassed them.
They outclassed them. By halftime, Steeler fans were thinking, you know what? The season really starts tomorrow, next week, because we just ran into one of the best teams in the league, because that's what the Niners looked like.
All right, Larry. Enough.
Hey, the Niners are number one in the power rankings on almost every NFL.com, ESPN, Fox, NBC.
I don't know. It's like, what did you bring me on here to do? I mean, you just going so hard. Jesus Christ. Like, what did you bring me on here for? It's like you're like baiting me to say something negative about the team.
No,
you're
you can.
You are just
okay.
so like
glowing.
Jesus Christ,
it's
Larry.
okay to say the team that you're watching is great. I know people.
No, but look.
It's a great team.
You asked my opinion. They outclassed the Steelers.
Yeah.
But the Steelers also have. Okay. So I'll give you this.
Well, that was my next question. Was it more what the Niners were doing, or what the Steelers weren't doing last week?
It's not. A little bit of both. So, we outclassed the Steelers in just being a better football team from top to bottom. what was most surprising about that is Mike Tomlin got woefully outcoached. He just got outcoached from the start of the game to the end of the game. He made a lot of bad errors, and
Which
also
what did you think? What was a major mistake for Tomlin in your mind?
not taking the points. Even though he got the touchdown on the first fourth down, it kind of gave him false hope, and it bit him in the second time he did it. Even though they
I
scored,
thought it was stupid. I thought it was stupid to go with your offense first when you're a defensive outfit and Purdy's as young as your guy. Instead,
Yeah.
you said I'm going to put Kenny Pickett against the number one
It wasn't.
defense
It
in the
wasn't
game.
smart. It wasn't
Yeah.
smart. And then also let's just stay right there, Larry. Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett shot them in the foot so many times. He could not get the ball out. Right.
I don't think Kenny Pickett's that great. Do you?
Okay, that's cool. I don't know that much about the kid. You know what I'm saying? All I'm saying is that I know what you're trying to do.
No,
but
I just I'm not a Kenny. There was some people. There was a little groundswell of
There
Kenny
you
Pickett,
go. So
Kenny
let's
Pickett.
get to it. Thank you.
I'm
Larry,
not a. I just
Larry,
I
you're
never
playing this Babe in the Woods act.
I never liked. I never really liked Kenny Pickett.
All
in the
right,
draft. I
then.
didn't.
So
I didn't
so
think
you can
like,
get
wow.
to that though. You can get to the fact that what you really want to say is, because you're teeing me up to say it anyway, is what you really want to say is you're still on your Brock Purdy victory lap. All right. And the game, and we haven't started week 2 yet officially. And you're making your rounds. And you finally got me on here. And I knew this was happening because you're petty, Larry. I know you. You want to come back.
Petty.
So you are petty.
I am not.
Yes, you are. So what you're doing is I knew you was going to come back around, right? You're a real sports guy, but I never said that Kenny Pickett was better than Brock Purdy. I was not in that band.
No,
so
but
I know.
my man Vish.
Okay,
did.
all right, but
Vish
But the
did.
thing about it is, Larry, is that dude, you're like the guy who you're my buddy, and we lose a bet. I lose like a $10 bet to you, bro, and you will not let it go. Like, bro, you got my money. I said you won. How much more do you want to talk about the time that you told me that you could slap? Come on, dude. Like, stop. Dude, all I'm saying is that I get it. Kenny Pickett is not on Brock Purdy's level, especially just from the neck up, right? Just from the neck up. Just the mentality, even getting the ball out. And it was bad to make the comparisons over Brock Purdy and Kenny Pickett. There. You happy, Larry? Do you feel good? So
well, I wasn't sure if you were pro Kenny Pickett or not, but I just think that the Steelers, forget Vish and people on YouTube and the media, the Steelers felt like Kenny Pickett had arrived based on the way they played in the preseason.
I would agree with
They
that.
went 5 series. They scored 5 touchdowns. They thought they were going to carry that momentum into the regular season. And 3 plays in, Warner, Drake Jackson, Cleveland Farrell are saying, not today. Not today.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would agree with that. Now with that sentiment, I would. The Steelers are pretty. While we're over here talking about Kenny Pickett, just imagine how they feel about him, right? They got to wake up with him tomorrow morning, right? So my thing is that yeah, we outclassed the Steelers from top to bottom, but there were just some elements of football that we weren't able to bear out on our team, right? So they only ran the ball 10 times. We got to be able to see it. We got to be able to see it more. You know what I'm saying? Like
that to me is a question still. I agree. I mean, and we're going to find out in this game because the Rams don't have a ton, so they are going to do what they did last week, which is come out, run the ball, and try to play ball control. Because I think they're going to see that they can't stop Ayuk and Debo and CMC, and they're gonna say, guys, we gotta. I would bet the Rams will try every trick in the book. I bet you they'll try ball control. I bet you they'll try an onside kick. They're going to try to steal some possessions because that's the reality in the NFL. If you get Team A is better than Team B, okay, yeah, but guess what? If Team B steals 2 possessions, it's a game.
Well, you know what makes us dangerous now, and as far as like the Rams and the Niners back and forth is concerned, is that the one thing that the Rams probably could do to us that would hurt us in years past is they probably could outscore us if they scored early because we're such a ball control complementary football team and we run the ball. If they would get up early on us because they get it done with the pass first, we could possibly be in trouble. But with what we do now, for lack of a better term, I think they're fucked because we can score now. So now the ball control element of playing of trying to run up the score, trying to turn it into a track meet, we can do that. We can do that now. What I will say about the Rams is that they still can't run the ball, but they're committed to it.
Right.
That's different. That's very different from what they used to do. What they used to do is they used to try to kind of bastardize the skill set bastardize the result of what you get out of the run game. Try to dial up big runs, try to get off tackle shit, try to engineer runs where you
and
would
play
try
back, and they would play backwards where they would pass when they should run and run when they should pass, and they never had balance. But like this last game against Seattle, Rams ran it 40 times.
Yep.
Now they didn't run it well. They only had 92 yards, 2.3 a carry is not great, but they featured this Kyron Williams, right? And then they held Seattle to 46 snaps.
Yeah, what they're doing is they're saying, all right, we got enough in Matt Stafford to make us right, even when the run game's not working. But what we do need is that when it's time for Matt Stafford to throw the ball, we can't have him with a defense that's not going to play honest. So we got to keep the running game in there just in spirit. It has to be there because what it really does is it gets us to what we really want, and that's Matt Stafford being able to get to areas on the field that he's most comfortable. So I do like what their modus operandi is, so to speak. Let's just say, but a plan isn't a plan until you stick to it in your worst moments, right? So it was cool for them to stick to run the ball 40 times against Seattle, but one thing about that plan that's a little different is that Seattle had 2 tackles go down too. So they had a little bit of an injury situation during that game, and they had to slow down considerably what they were doing on offense. So I don't know if the Rams necessarily are a better team than Seattle. It's hard to ingest those type of injuries on week 1, and they may just have gotten out the door with one. But I watched that film, and Seattle was outplaying the Rams before they got injured on offense, and they're more physical than the Rams. They don't have as much talent, but as far as pound for pound, putting your hand in the dirt, moving the line of scrimmage, the Rams could not do anything with Seattle. So I feel as though I don't know how Seattle's D-line stacks up with us. We got to see more football. On paper, obviously us. But from what I see is that the Rams are dedicated to running the ball even when they don't get yards doing it. And when you're a defense playing against a team like that, where they're just doing something to keep you honest so they can really get to their bread and butter, that's a game where you got to really be on your keys. You can't have lazy eyes. You got to stay home. You can't let them get any type of traction with the run game, because God forbid if they actually get movement. Then we got to.
Well, yeah, and you got to play cleaner than them. You got to play a cleaner game. You got to hope that they make some mistakes and fall behind the chains. But the Rams are smart. I think McVay's a damn good coach. When he has an up-tempo team, he'll go up-tempo. A lot of 3 wide receivers, throw it all over the yard. When he doesn't have that, guess what? They're going to run it a ton, put the ball in Stafford's hands on 3rd and down, and just say, Matthew, find the open guy, and they're going to roll with that. And now they've got a kid in Puka Nacua who can run really good routes, and even without Kupp, they've got a guy who can kind of be a continuity piece on their offense. It's going to be incumbent on the Niners to not make mistakes on D, get them in 3rd and long, and then tee off on Stafford or score enough on offense to take the Rams out of their run game and make the game one-sided, and then tee off on Stafford. Let me read some of these supers because Brother Bob's losing his mind. He says, damn shame, always late. Niners 41-10. All right, 41-10. Suddenly, Brother Bob, who was not a big Purdy guy, is now saying 41-10. Brother Bob says had more faith in Purdy than Purdy's pimp last week. He did pick a route score last week. Brother Bob again. He says Purdy's pimp, rebrand this show. The Purdy Show. Yeah, and Brother Bob, you got to decide. Do you like Brock? Do you not like Brock? You're picking the Niners to win with Brock, but you don't like Brock. Brother Bob, no Purdy's pimp. You said Niners 28. I said 38-17. I know, but I've done a lot of different live streams at different points. I might have said 28-24. I said 31-17. I gave a couple different predictions, but yeah, one of them was like 28-21 or something like that. I thought the Niners would win in Pittsburgh. I was surprised that they routed them. Kaneki says Larry is just pulling the receipts. You guys tried to downplay Brock so hard this offseason, so it's not over. You're going to hear us all year long.
All right, just make sure we hear you all season.
We got this one from Brother Bob. Kevin's dad, Purdy's pimp, read the supers faster. Thank you. I will. I'll hustle. Stop being lazy, boy. The Sentinels football channel says, Larry, if Brock gets us our 6th Lombardi, I'm calling you Larry Legend. All right. Well, there you go. All right. Some of the talk from last week. Niners do get an impressive win. Now let's look ahead to Rams for a second. And we've kind of already started to, but I think this Ram team is interesting. So they beat Seattle 30-13. I watched the All-22 this week. They do have ownage on Seattle. They're 9-4 in their last 13 against Seattle. But it's still an impressive win. Why? Because they did it in Seattle, and they did it without Cooper Kupp. And the Rams outgained Seattle 426-180. But as the coach said, Seattle lost Abraham Lucas to a knee injury and Charles Cross to a turf toe in the third quarter. And basically from that point on, Seattle was totally done. Seattle had 12 yards of offense in the second half of this game. The Rams in the second half on offense went touchdown, field goal, touchdown, field goal, field goal. And Stafford was really the key in the game. I mean, LA ran 2.3 a carry. They didn't run very effectively, but they played ball control. And then on third down, Stafford was really good. He threw for 334 yards, 58th 300-yard day of his career. But they were like 11 for 17 on that quarterback down, third down. So that's how the Rams did it. And it was an impressive win. McVay coach has stated he wants to be much more physical this year. Right. And they really were. And the real story were these two receivers. And let's talk about them. Puka Nacua is a 6'2", 205-pound wide receiver, rookie wide receiver from BYU. He's got huge legs, very strong, runs really good routes. They targeted him 15 times, and he caught 10 balls for 119 yards, and he runs great routes. Now, he's a little banged up with an oblique. They say he's going to go. The other guy, Tutu Atwell, whose dad by the same name, played at University of Minnesota. Tutu was a second-round pick by the Rams in 2021 out of Louisville. He's tiny, right? He's 5'9". He's about 165 pounds. But he might be the fastest guy in the league. And he had 6 catches for 119. He's just a rail-thin slot receiver with 4.3 speed.
He's a little guy.
Used to be a quarterback in high school in Miami. Then went to Louisville. They put him at wide receiver. He's just one of the fastest guys you're ever going to see on a football field. Right. So you got to defend these guys differently because Atwell, you got to give him some space because he's just so damn fast. Otherwise, he'll run by you. Nacua, on the other hand, won't run by you, and you have to be draped all over him. And I asked Wilkes about it this week. He said, it's really about Stafford for me. He goes, we got to put a lot of pressure in Stafford's face. We got to make him uncomfortable. It's all about bothering the quarterback more than matching up with those two receivers. But this game is interesting because there is a path to victory here for the Rams. If they can have some success running it and make some plays on third down, maybe get a turnover or two, they can hang in this game.
Yeah, so I feel like Tutu Atwell has had a process of maturation. At first, he just looked like he wasn't it, right? He looked like they kind of made the wrong pick. The game was a little too big for him because at his size, his speed is paramount. And earlier when they first got him, he just wasn't materializing. It seems as though that he's catching on and they have found a role for him. Even when he got there, they were a little bit in transition, so you kind of feel like maybe they put too much on his plate, maybe asked him to do too much too soon at that stage of his career. But the Rams have always had a little bit of a bad luck, so to speak, especially with injuries in their running game, and then they're not even really a running team. So this year, that last year they ate a lot of crow, and rightfully so. They cooked the books for a Super Bowl. They deserve to eat shit for a year. So now that they're back, you can tell that now they're trying to right the wrongs and do it the right way. You can never sleep on a team with a quarterback like Matt Stafford. That's really how I see this. They're not
And they've
really.
and let's be honest, they've kind of quietly rebuilt their O line a little bit. That kid Avila, the monster guard they just got from TCU, is like 340 pounds, and he's really good. The left guard.
Yeah, I mean, he leaves much to be desired in the run game, but he is remarkable in the pass game. As far as pass protection, he's agile, very strong, stout. I mean, I've seen reps where he got caught off guard and still was stout, coming in from his blind side. But I mean, when he searches for paint, he's vicious, right? He closes in and helps and closes down hatches and looks out for interior guys, his center, exterior guys, his tackle, and he's nasty in the pass game. That's one thing that I will say about the Rams offensive line. And I've been saying this all week because it's just one of the first things that pops out to me when I do see them on film is that they're long, right? They're beautiful off. They're a beautiful offensive line. If you look at them from a tight angle, I'm talking about beautiful splits. Everybody's heels are rooted in the ground. They look good. They get to the party quick. They're agile in the box, but they're just not strong. They wall guys off. They don't really deliver blows. They kind of move you along the way, like almost kind of like doormen, trying to help you get through to your room. But they're not really vicious. And you really get to see that as far as the vulnerability is concerned when they start running from sideline to sideline. So when they start getting 18 and 19 going on inside and out, I mean on outside zone, not inside zone, but outside zone. And they tried to get out there traditionally a couple of times, and they just weren't getting any push. I mean, literally just running down the line of scrimmage, not getting any type of push or flow. And they're a little slow out in space, right? When they have to get, for linemen, 10 yards is almost 30 yards. So when you get us running like 20 plus yards, you get a chance to see a big man move, right? And with after that 10 yards, if you got like some longer speed, you start to see that stuff where guys can accelerate with power, get downhill. They just don't have that. They're going to get in the way. And that's where I see our defense really having opportunities to make things happen in the run game. So much so that even when they were doing that against Seattle, and that's running outside zone, you could tell that at some point it wasn't working. So they started switching their game plan to getting out there a lot faster. So a lot of bubble screens, jet screens, now routes. They were trying to get the ball to the edges, like engineer the ball out there as fast as possible so they could at least get to the edges of the field without their big guys being down there. That's how laborious that task was at times for them. So everything that I've said about them in the run game, which I'm going to say more on my scouting show tomorrow morning, but uh everything that I've said about them in the run game, they're equally as good. A complete different side of the game when it comes to pass protection. They're good. They know how to protect Matt Stafford. They work together, and they work together because they don't really have anybody um dynamic. Like they don't have a Trent Williams, right? They don't have anybody on their left tackle and right tackle spots that are just tip of the spear guys that you don't have to worry about them. They have to work together because they're a sum of all parts, and they play like that. They have good hands. They have great communication too. quick feet. They take spikes and switches very well. And I will say this, even though they're long, I mean, when I'm talking about long, I mean long as far as like real estate, body type. They don't really get detached that much when they go 50 personnel, 30 personnel. I mean, protection pro. As far as like knowing how, when you have a D a D tackle on the shade and he's on the center, and you may have your right guard and he's free and looking for paint. These guys are they're bullies. They don't play fair. And that's the mark of a good offensive line. No offensive lineman it was going to play fair. A good one, that is, right? They're going to beat your ass. So what they do in the pass game, I'm really interested to see what our pass rush does against this offensive line. Now, are they the tip of the spear? We don't know. It's only week 2, right? We literally saw one game of them. But for what they did against a interdivision foe on week 1 was quite impressive. And then what really makes them look good is the same thing that makes us look good, so to speak, as far as our run game in their passing game. Our backs make us right? So even when we do have outside zone and we have not quarterbacks rather, but we have running backs running their track, they're cutting back, they're bouncing, they're going slow to fast through to make our offensive lineman right. And you can see that Matt Stafford does that with that offensive line. So Matt's not what he used to be, but he still can move. He's still got a little bit of pep in his step. And as far as his arm is concerned, he's every bit of Matt Stafford that he was, if not better. So that's what kind of makes them dangerous, so to speak.
I'll tell you what's interesting too about them is, as far as Stafford, a lot of people think this is a rebuilding year. A lot of talk that Stafford could have been had in a trade by other teams in the offseason. Mm-hmm. Well, the Rams won in week 1. Will that change their approach to the year? If things go south for the Rams, would they trade a guy like Stafford to the Jets and go try to get into the Caleb Williams sweepstakes? Because the Rams are trying to kind of rebuild. I mean, there's going to be 70% Niner fans there tomorrow. Mm-hmm. The LA market is wide open. There's Niner fans, there's Rams fans, there's Chargers fans, there's Raiders fans. There's Cowboys fans.
It's not wide open.
But I'm just saying they don't have.
It's supposed to be Rams fans. Right?
I know, but I mean the Rams left for 25 years and they hurt their fan base. Right. Now LA in that
it's a Laker town. It's the Lakers.
It's a Laker town, but I mean football wise, nobody owns the town. It's an everybody town. Niners have fans, Rams have fans. Raiders have tons of fans. Cowboys have tons of fans from training in Oxnard all those years. There's just a lot of NFL fans, but they're not all Rams fans. My point is this: Caleb would be a very, very popular pick. Heck, if I was the commissioner of the NFL, I'd be rooting for Caleb to go to the Rams. He's one of the biggest stars to enter the league in a while, and he's already got commercials, Burger King commercials. He's an incredible talent. He's playing for SC right there. SC is really the most popular football team in LA, really. But I'm just kind of wondering, would the Rams pivot away from Stafford and move him to a contender or a team that wants to be a contender for more draft capital and try to tank for Caleb? Would you? I've never really asked you what you think of Caleb.
I mean, he's good.
Is he so good that he will transform an organization? I mean, there's people that believe that he's like not just good, that he's like special. I don't know that I see that. I see a great quarterback on a great team who's a well above average athlete. I don't know if I see greatest quarterback. I don't know if I see Mahomes part 2 or anything.
Well, I didn't see Mahomes that way. I know people love to have revisionist history, but I didn't see. No,
but I mean, now that you know what Mahomes is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but even then, I didn't see that
no, I didn't
in
either.
Texas Tech.
Though he did put up gaudy numbers.
He did, but at the same time, that's kind of my point about Caleb Williams. I feel like we're kind of defining what we see too early instead of just observing. Right? So he's on a really good team. and he's on a really good team with world class athletes playing against a wide open track meet of a game of college football. So he's very talented. There's no doubt about it. And he's got the whole world on a string. I'll give you that. But the NFL is the best game on planet Earth. You know what I mean, Larry? Like, it's the best.
I kind of like the UW kid a little bit.
Yeah, like it's the best game on planet Earth. And you can't just come up to the league playing around. I want to wait and see on Caleb and see a little bit more. But he's definitely on the right track. I have nothing negative to say about what I've seen about him. But we know that the mark of greatness, if they're saying he's good, then I'm on board. He's good, right? But they saying he's great. You know what I mean? Like,
they're saying he's like, coach. They're
transcended.
They're saying he's
exactly
the best
saying,
of the best.
I'm glad that you corrected me, Larry. Yes, they're not saying he's great. They're saying he's like one of one, right?
For you, for like he's like in that Trevor Lawrence, Andrew Luck, once a decade kind of a player.
Peyton Manning type stuff. John Elway, like, can't miss.
I don't know if I see that, to be honest.
I don't know if I see that either, right? I don't know if I see that either. So I when I watched Andrew Luck, and when people were saying that about Andrew Luck was operating much. I don't want to say much better, but he was doing a lot more on an offense that translated to the pro level than Caleb is being asked to do, in my opinion. Right. And I feel the same way about Trevor Lawrence. Like, Trevor Lawrence came on and was like the man immediately. You know what I mean? Like, it was like no question. The only like guesswork about Trevor Lawrence was if not if he was going to be the man when he got here, but when.
His team
like,
was so bad. They were
going to give him 3. Yeah, exactly. Like, was he going to get the time to actually show him it's the league, right? Look at Trey Lance. He didn't get the chance.
We're going to get to Jacksonville too, because to me, Coach, Jacksonville is one of the 2 or 3 teams that I think looks great. I mean, we'll
look
finish
very good.
They look
so did Detroit
on defense, and Detroit looks great. But I mean, like, there's a couple other teams, Cleveland, Green Bay. There's a couple teams right now that to me look really, really pretty good. We'll get to that later on. Let's get a couple supers here. We've got Hutch Serves Gaming. He says, member for 14 months. He said, 14 months, let's go. Krueg Show going to the moon. Big C, Brock, gonna win the Super Bowl. I can say Big C, but I can't go the other. I can't go there. I just can't.
Don't do it. Don't take the cheese, Larry. Don't take the cheese.
Brother Bob says, lies. I always love Purdy. I just don't slurp like Purdy's pimp. Oh, come on, Brother Bob. You were pro Lance all summer, bro. Come on. Who you fooling? Terradome says, Krueg on the real deal. Your interview with Javon Hargrave, Javon Kinlaw. Your interview with Javon Kinlaw was masterful, my guy. I and others, I'm sure, saw a different side of him, and you got it out of him. Salute.
Good job, Larry.
I don't know. Did you see any of that? Man, Kinlaw, go watch Kinlaw. Kinlaw's just a great dude, man. I go up to him like, hey, Javon, man, how you doing? You got time? He's like, yeah, man, good to see you. I'm like, yeah, how's your off season? He's like, it was good. And then he goes, how's your family doing? And I'm like, they're doing well. You know what I mean? He's just like and he doesn't know my family or anything, but I mean, he's just a down to earth guy. And he's really, yeah, he's a good guy, and he worked hard to get his knees right. He's feeling good. The knees are feeling good. And he thinks he's primed for a big year. And he's very sincere. He's a very sincere guy. Mm-hmm. And he's really serious about having a bust out year this year. And I thought he played well in week 1. And that first play that first series, I should say, where he basically took on the A gap and the B gap and took on the combo block and absorbed the blocks. And Fred was free, and he smacked Najee in the mouth for a tone setting hit. that was, Warner gets the hit and Warner can flex. But in reality, I asked Fred about it, and Fred's like, man, if Javon doesn't, keep those linemen off of me, I'm dealing with a guard in my lap. Instead, he's so big and so strong that he took on the guard and the center and had it and basically left me free. And I got the big hit. So yeah, I mean Javon means a lot to Greenlaw and he means a lot to Fred. Scott Hill says, "Hey Larry, hey coach, what's your prediction on Stafford getting sacked?" Well, he does get it out, but I'm going to say 4 sacks on Stafford tomorrow.
I'll cut you in half too.
Okay,
He's gonna get sacked. He's gonna get sacked. We have way better pass rush than Seattle. Seattle's gonna struggle on getting to the quarterback. But
that sounds like you think the Rams are gonna sort of be able to establish the run. Is that fair? Because I think the Rams won't be able to establish the run, and the second half will be a immobile Stafford against the Niner front. He does get it out quick, but I think 4 sacks is more like they can't run. If you're saying 2 sacks, maybe they can run it a little bit. Is that what you're thinking? And then when he does drop back, they're thinking it's short and he can get it out. See, I think the Niners the Rams didn't stay out of 3rd and long in week 1. I think the Niners and maybe the Rams, because you got to hold Bosa sometimes, right? And if you hold Bosa, now it's a penalty. Now you're in 3rd and long. And when you get to 3rd and long, now the sacks go up. So I just think the Rams played really clean last week. I think they'll play less clean this week. And I'm thinking 4 sacks. But I am a little concerned, Coach, about the Rams establishing the run game. So, like, if you were saying lesser sacks, maybe I was trying to figure maybe you're thinking the Rams are going to run it well.
No, I'm just saying lesser sacks because Matt does get the ball. I mean, that's just what they do, right? You want to be able to go in and understand what a team does best. What they do best is they pass the ball best. That's what they do, right? Even as a whole on defense, they're above average, but they're not very good, right? So if you look at a professional team, you have to ask, like, where's the money going? Right? And the money is going in their passing game. Like, that's their quarterback.
Stafford.
They're drafting for it. Cup, like, so
Higbee.
Yeah. So when you go to a team, like when you come and see us, what are you gonna say? Like, all right, what is this team? Oh, they're a defensive running team. They put all their money in defense and they have a stable of backs that's better than the entire league. This is what they do. You know what I'm saying? So, with the Rams, I just feel as though that, kind of going into the buzzsaw of what they do, 4 sacks is nice. But I feel like 2 sacks is just a little bit more realistic. Matt Stafford is better than he was last year because he was just hurt last year, right? He wasn't that good. And this year he's healthy. And that's a point that I wanted to get into now. I feel like Christmas came early this week. We get a chance to see what Coach Wilks has done with this secondary, right? So we don't get Kenny Pickett. The Kenny Pickett like, grandstanding, that's over. Now we got Matt Stafford.
Right.
So
Stafford's
I'm excited to see what we can do with Matt Stafford against our secondary because, quite frankly, even though we had a number 1 defense last year, we brought in Coach Wilks to be able to help that side of our defense. We've never really even had that type of SME inside of our organization, and that was what got sold to us as why Coach Wilks came into the building, is because he was so much of an asset for the secondary, right? He's even brought in his own guys, Darrell Luter Jr., Isaiah Oliver. He brought in the other kid from Carolina that didn't work out, right? So it's even throughout OTAs in camp, Coach Wilks has been personally putting his hands on the secondary. So I want to see what we do against Matt Stafford this week in the secondary. I understand that because this is football, we have to start with the closest thing to the ball, and that's the trenches, which is running the ball and stopping the run. I get that, right? But I do kind of feel like that's the side. The entree is gonna be what our secondary does against Matt Stafford,
Well,
right?
who scares you more between Atwell and Nakua? Because
Nakua for sure.
Atwell's a burner, and like
Right.
when you watch that film last week, nobody can stay within 5 yards of him, and he's healthy and he's flat. He's
He's a
flying.
problem. Yeah, he is a problem. But
Nakua's a better receiver, but he's slower,
for
and I think the
me,
Niners might be able to muscle him a little bit.
I agree with that. I don't think he's as physical as you would want a number one guy to be. But I'll raise you this.
He knows how to play, though.
Thank you. And I'll say this. He may be an imperfect vessel. He may not look the part as far as optics are concerned. And as far as even like getting to what he needs to get to as far as catching the ball, running his routes, he may not be as smooth or he may not look the part moving forward, right? But this is what I will say about the Rams. Last year, they could literally not do anything without Cooper Kupp. They couldn't do anything on offense. It was bad. And it would all roll downhill from him not being on the field. I will say this about the Rams. That kid Nakua was running all of Cooper Kupp's routes. He was running his route tree. And they scored over 30 points with that kid. That's a new development in LA, right? From what we know about our interdivisional foe is that there's certain things about their offense that they can't utilize without certain players on the field. They're able to do that now, right? And just to kind of like make it stick a little bit, they did it against the divisional opponent. So for me, that was an eyebrow raiser when I saw that they put up the type of points that they did without Cooper Kupp. So this Nakua kid, like, yeah, he's not Cooper Kupp. I'll give you that. He's not. But he can be utilized in the same guys. And that's something that you pay attention to because even with what Cooper Kupp alone is an amazing receiver. But what made him so dangerous is Matt Stafford, right? How he was getting the ball, when he was getting the ball. So the Nakua kid, I feel as though Matt Stafford has found another friendly target. And they
The
have
kid's
great
totally
chemistry,
dependable.
too.
He's like a veteran. I mean, here's the thing too. It's a bad break for the Niners. It's a good break in that they get the Rams without Cup, but it's a bad break in that the Rams are really, really thin. And I think if you get them late in the year, you're going to get a much, much different team than you get right now. Right now, they're healthy. Right
Yeah.
now, they're rolling. You know, they look good because they're fresh. But wait until week 8, 9, 10, 11. I don't think they're going to be nearly as good. But the Niners, you know, you play them you play the schedule the way it's laid out. What do you think of the story of the day, which is that the Niners put Samuel Womack on the IR? So he's their 5th-round pick. He's got an MCL injury. They're saying he's not going to require surgery. So we're talking 6 to 8 weeks, but he's still going to be out a month or two. And he got hurt Wednesday on the final play of practice. They're saying he doesn't need surgery. They put him on IR, designated to return. And as a rookie, he had 19 tackles. He had a pick, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery. Week 1, he had nine defensive snaps, 17 snaps on special teams. But now they either have to call Shamar Jean-Charles or Quantrez Knight or Trey Swilling off the practice squad. Darrell Luter Jr., they're saying they're going to leave on the PUP list until probably week 5 or week 6. But, I mean, you got Mooney, you got Lenore, you got Isaiah Oliver, you got Ambry. They should have kept Deshaun Jameson. There's no doubt in my mind. That was a mistake. But he's gone. You can't cry over it now. Who do you think today they're going to announce they're going to call off the practice squad? Quantrez, Jean-Charles, or Swilling?
Quantrez. They should.
Yeah, I think Quantrez too.
Yeah.
How concerning though is that the Niners DBs? There was like 4 DBs. I think it was. There's like 4 different guys that I saw last week where they were targeted 21 times and the Steelers completed 18 passes. A lot of that was second half stuff that the Niners were just allowing to move the clock along. But how concerned are you about the Niners secondary? Because this game, you know, if Nakua's going to go, he's going to give it a go. He's got a oblique. He was listed as questionable, but he is going to go. If Nakua and Atwell, with Stafford throwing the ball and Higbee, can light up this secondary. I mean, how concerned are you about the Niners in the secondary?
I gotta see it. I'm not gonna tell you how worried I am about something I don't know about. I hate to pour water on your question. Want to be able to answer you fully and honestly, but I just don't believe in stepping out and talking out of school about what a team is gonna do until they prove they can do it first, right? Charting out is good and forecasting is fine, but um, I just think that our secondary is not. I think they get a bad rap on our team and on our defense just because of how good we actually are together, right? Collectively. So I feel as though that, when you are so good, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, so to speak. The secondary just is kind of the redheaded stepchild of the team. Everybody's looking at it. Just like the offensive line always gets beat up on our offense because everybody else is operating at such a high clip. So for me, I really want to see it. I'm not here to say that they're gonna do bad. But I want to see what Matt Stafford does to our secondary. I'll feel much better about a day if we have a day like Pittsburgh against the Rams. I will feel much better about this win than I do the Pittsburgh win. Does that make sense?
Because
of Matt Stafford versus Kenny Pickett.
Because it's Stafford, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, there's no question. I mean, in some ways, the quarterback means everything as far as the pressure on a defense, and Pickett looked a little off. Pickett looked a little bit behind his receivers. Stafford comes into this game. He's in his prime. He's healthy. It's early in the year. He's coming off a great preseason. They had a real nice week one. They upset Seattle. He's got some receivers, and the guy can sling it. There's no question about it. But it's a team game, and the Niners, it's their job to take away the run completely, force them to be more one-sided, and then tee off on Stafford behind a line that's remade but not elite. So we're going to find out. It's going to be a huge challenge for sure. We get a couple more supers in here. Hutch Serves Gaming. Look at that. $49.99. Thank you, Hutch. He says, tell your friends, family, and coworkers, tell everyone that the Krueg Show is the place to be for all your Bay Area sports knowledge, and especially Niner football and football in general. He knows his stuff. Been here since day one. You lazy, Larry. I call Hutch Serves Gaming the mayor of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And he calls us sometimes, Coach, late at night. And he'll be talking like this. And we said, Hutch, why are you whispering? And he's like, my wife is sleeping in the next room, so I have to talk like this. So, Hutch, thanks for being there, brother. Brother Bob says, I'm there tomorrow. Which jersey? 11, 19, 54, or 97? Well, Debo is the guy who owns the Rams, so I would say go with 19. Right? I mean
we going with 11.
Go with Ayuk. You can't go wrong with Ayuk either. Ayuk looks like he's going to have the biggest year, to be honest. Ken Konecki says we can't penalize players for having a good team. Brother Bob says, I'm pissed off again. You are lying. I never said anything bad about Purdy. Remember asking me who I would start, and I said Purdy? Funny to watch you obsess. All right, Brother Bob.
I think there's a sect of fans. I think there's a sect of fans who they're upset that Brock Purdy was even questioned as being the number one quarterback. Like they want heads to roll.
It's 2020 hindsight, Coach. 2020 hindsight.
Oh, now you want it to be 2020.
No, that's what it is. I mean, people are basically now saying, "Oh yeah, now that he's good, it's like, yeah, we knew he was going to be good." Well, probably not.
I wonder who's helping him out with that.
Tommy Huxley says Oliver is hot toilet juice. Oh my God, come on, he's a man. He's a man with a family. Pissed off brother Bob. Coach, you tripping? No cup. We're good. 41-10. Book it, baby. Look at that.
I
will tell the coach he's tripping.
Yeah.
G Code Travels Vlog says Bosa found a loophole on why he didn't sign early. 183-day rule for state residency in Florida for tax purposes. Contract was already decided long ago.
That's 100% true.
Is that it? Is that
Yeah,
is
like
that,
183-day rule for state income tax. You have to stay in Florida for at least that amount of time so you can get out. Nobody wants to spend their money in California, Larry. I'm surprised that you're still over there. You know what I'm saying?
give it time. Give it
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
I'll be on
When
a
are you gonna go
barge
to
off the
Texas?
coast. I'll be in a barge on. If I could do this right, I'd probably have a place on the Big Island in Hawaii, and I'd just be in Hawaii all the time. Yeah, mahalo, everybody.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean,
If you could be anywhere, Coach, where would you be?
the Bahamas.
Bahamas.
Yeah.
Ooh, see, that water is awfully nice. It's
Yeah,
like a
like
bathtub.
if I had to be anywhere, I'm going to Barbados or we're going to Cape Verde or we might go to the Seychelles.
It doesn't. The humidity doesn't bother you.
Boy, you see me? I know,
Well,
I ain't mad at no heat.
You do live in a part of the country where there is some humidity, so you're kind of more used to it.
I mean, DC is on
You
top
gotta
of
remember,
a
you're
swamp.
talking to a West Coast guy. West
Yeah.
Coast, we don't get a lot of humidity, so any
Oh
humidity
man,
is like. I mean, I've been in the Midwest in the summer. I've been in New Orleans in July. I've been in South Texas. Humidity is rough. I mean, it's just on you, and you're
Yeah.
just sweating, and it's
yeah. I mean, I mean, out here we
I
get
can't deal with it.
humidity. We get it because we're right on Chesapeake, so we're right on water, and DC, like I said, is right on top of a swamp, so we get mosquitoes, we get humidity, we get all of it here.
How do you fight it? Do you have one of those bug zappers?
No, you just endure. Like,
Really? Do you go with bug spray and that kind of stuff?
nah, I'm not a bug spray guy. Like usually
So
during
you
the
just get
summers,
welts all over yourself.
yeah, but that's if you staying outside like for like a long period of time. Like when I used to coach, I used to get it all the time. You get like the sticker burrs and you get the welts and you get the horse flies.
Oh,
So you get all of that. Then horsefly, I'd much rather get bit by a mosquito than bit by a horsefly. Horsefly bites hurt, man. You
really?
know what I'm saying? Yeah, they like legit hurt. So, yeah.
I was in Houston one time, and there was a gigantic. I thought it was a roach on the wall, and so I told the guy at the hotel, I'm like, man, I got roaches in my room. They're like, oh, well, we'll switch your room. So they tell me to go from one floor to a different floor, and so then I'm in that room for a while. So man, I got roaches in here. So I called down to the the concierge. Oh, we'll send somebody up. Okay, so the guy comes up and he's like, "Oh, that's not a roach. That's a water bug." I'm like, "What
Oh.
difference? What difference does it make? It's a gigantic, crunchy beetle. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's a roach. I mean, I'm sorry that I didn't have the right family or whatever. It's like, come on, that's a roach." And it was almost as big as a fist. I mean, it wasn't like you could throw a magazine and smash it. You would have to throw like a encyclopedia to smash this thing. I mean,
You don't rock with the bugs.
this thing when you hit it against the wall, it made a like a
Yeah,
like
the
a
only
crack.
thing, water bugs stink. They have like a distinct smell.
Oh, it's gross. See, I'm a California guy. Ken Kanicki says 49ers are way more talented than the Rams. Well, there's no doubt. But you know what? It's the NFL. And any two turnovers can even that playing field. Pissed off Brother Bob. Well, Larry, you remember asking me or what? LOL. Yes, I do, Brother Bob. Sorry. I apologize. Pissed off Brother Bob. Admit it. Admit it. You're wrong. I said Purdy. Now take my money. All right. You said Purdy. Man, I'm getting roughed up by Brother Bob.
Yeah.
Russ Button says, shout out Larry from HPP south of Hilo on the Big Island. Nice. Yeah, we were at the Westin Hapuna Beach. Oh, my God. I mean, Coach, if the YouTube thing goes well,
Yes.
this will be the Westin Hapuna Beach. I'll be checking in from Hapuna Beach. Good morning. Let's talk 49er offensive line. Mahalo. I mean, it's just going to be incredible. All right. The other day, I want to share the screen on this one. Yesterday had Maurice Jones-Drew stop by the show, and I was
Okay,
really
great.
very happy to have him on. And
Hmm.
here he is, and I asked him about Purdy, and here's what he said.
Those type of weapons around him.
Wait a second, we'll rewind it. I said, give me the national perspective on Purdy, and he makes a comparison. Tell me what you think of this. Give me your national perspective on Purdy. What do you think of Purdy from afar?
I think a lot of people they get enamored by the arm talent of quarterbacks, right? I coach quarterbacks at De La Salle right now, and I always tell my quarterbacks, it's not about your arm talent. Who cares if you can throw the ball 60 yards down the field, 80 yards down the field, if you can't throw it to where it needs to be on time? Well, Brock Purdy's superpower is processing. He's able to see what the defense is doing and get the ball to the right guy 90% of the time. And if you have a guy with those type of weapons around him where he can get the ball to him in space, makes the correct read majority of the time, he's able to process and go out there and make plays, and he's gaining more and more confidence. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the game to me, just off of that aspect alone. I don't care if you can throw it sidearm off your back foot. None of that matters if you can't throw the ball with timing and anticipation with accuracy. And so that's what Brock Purdy does, and that's what makes him a very dangerous quarterback, because you can do that forever. Because you know who else did that?
Who's
You
that?
know what other quarterback did that?
Here it comes.
Who do you got?
Tom Brady. That's what Tom Brady did. He threw with timing, anticipation, and accuracy.
Yeah.
And that is what had him being the tough to beat for a long time.
Tom Brady. MJD went Tom Brady yesterday. And he said that
Right.
he said Brock's I don't know exactly the exact quote. Did he say a very good quarterback, or he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league? That's a little heady stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think there, though? I mean, this is a guy who was a all pro player, who's saying, hey, you know what? This arm strength thing, that's kind of fool's gold. It's all about processing, accuracy, and timing.
Right.
What do you
I
think?
mean,
What do you think?
I mean, I get it. The
Pretty
thing about it,
pretty glowing though, isn't it?
yeah.
About
I
Brock.
mean, it is glowing. A pretty glowing thing to say about Tom Brady, because nobody knew what Tom Brady was going to be when he first started, right? So I feel as though that there is a world where Tom Brady wasn't even Tom Brady when he first started playing football in the National Football League, right? I want people to try to understand what I just said. When we look at Tom Brady, sometimes we look at Tom Brady for the totality of what he is now, the finished version. But Tom was not as good as he is when he was humming when he first started. He played on an all-world defense. That team was good.
Right.
Okay.
Ty Law, Richard Seymour.
And they were already in Super Bowl contention, kind of like Brock Purdy's maturation process. Okay. Like they were already pushing. There were a lot of expectations on that team when they came in. Even with Drew Bledsoe being there. So with Tom, if you go back and you look at those numbers and you look at what Tom was doing, those numbers were anemic. They weren't that gaudy. They weren't eye-popping stats. And there were definitely quarterbacks out there who got to it and did it better than Tom back when he was young. So, yes, was Tom Brady an exceptional processor and getting the ball out that young, that early? I don't necessarily think that's something that I saw in Tom Brady when I was young. Because when I was young, Tom Brady's older than me. When I was young and looking at Tom Brady, it wasn't like I was looking at him and saying, man, he's such an amazing processor. It wasn't.
Well, look what he did. Look
Tom
what he
Brady,
did. They went empty set. He, I mean, even this is even young Tom Brady with Charlie Weiss as the OC. They went empty set. He dropped back to pass and just kind of sprayed it all over to all like his five eligibles all running short routes, and he just kind of got it out real quick, like neutralized the pass rush, and just had this kind of short dart passing game with lots of eligibles and mix in some runs. I mean, it was like he didn't do somebody said here, this one here, the Sentinel says the Brady was considered a game manager for the first 3 Super Bowls. It's kind of true. It's kind of true. He was considered almost like a game manager type until he got Randy Moss. And he had that incredible downfield. He started putting up 300-yard days and opening it up, and then they started being more creative, throwing it to Gronk down the seam and that kind of thing. But a lot of it early was run the ball, play killer D, and
Killer D.
and
Larry,
just don't turn it
can
over.
we take a moment? Can we just, just
Ty
an
Law
off
and
topic,
Seymour and those guys.
an off topic segment? How much do those Tom Brady Patriot defenses get overlooked now that Tom is who he is? In those moments, nobody was talking about Tom Brady. They were talking about those defenses. How nasty those defenses were with Richard Seymour. With Richard Seymour and Willie McGinnis and Ted Bruschi. Like, those were the Ty Law and Lawyer Malloy. Those defenses were all world, man. Like, I don't want to take anything away
They
from
shut down
Tom.
the Rams with that greatest show on turf.
Bro, they took the defensive game plan and inducted it into the Hall of Fame. Like, that's a fact.
Rodney Harrison, another guy, yeah.
Yeah, like, they were unreal on defense. I think people don't realize that early in Tom's career, he's the real deal. He's the real McCoy. Nothing taken away from Tom. But earlier on, Tom had a hell of a team backing him where he didn't have to do much. Right? He
had a really good O-line, too. Coach
he had a
says,
ridiculous Matt
don't
Light.
forget Tom had a super O-line. How about Logan Mankins?
Look, Matt Light. What Tom? Not Tom Compton, but what was Compton's first
Dan
name?
Coppin.
Dan Coppin was a dog. Like, they were nice. They were very set up for Tom to be successful. Now, Tom, he paid the team back in the organization back that when he finally got into maturation, he gave a lot of team-friendly deals. He looked out because he understood that, hey, this team was well established before I came into who I am today, and they're a part of a big reason why I am who I am today, and that all could be in play for Brock. That really can be, as far as the same arc, career arc, right? But we do have to realize that, Brock being an exceptional processor is what gets his foot in the door. You're the starter. You're the captain. Now we just got to see him play, right? And we could be sitting back here looking at this saying, man, the kid is he's never taken a step down. There is no mean to regress to. We got to completely rewrite where we think this kid's ceiling is based off of what he's doing throughout the year, right? But then there can also be a regression to the mean, and we're going to have to be able to be pragmatic when that happens too. So that's one of the reasons why I don't get too high on Brock, is because I don't want him to completely be discarded or thrown away if he struggles, right? Because we just haven't seen enough, right? And he deserves that space.
We're 1 hour and 12 minutes into our live stream. We have quite a few people in the room. I do need to mention the sponsor of today's show is Mojo Fantasy. Mojo Fantasy has introduced a whole new way to play fantasy football this season. It works by entering into contests and building a portfolio of players. The better your portfolio performs, the more cash you win. It's really simple. The props you pick act like stocks. You can buy and sell player stocks live all game long. You can cash in on a hot start or just hang on and let them ride. That's it. Make picks, make moves, make money. All right, this week I'm entering into a contest with... I'm going to go with these 5 guys. I'm going Tutu Atwell over 4.5 receptions.
All right.
Over 4.5 receptions for Tutu. Over 3.5 receptions for Kendrick Bourne. New England takes on Miami. Over 4.5 receptions for DeAndre Hopkins in the Tennessee Charger game. Over 232.5 passing yards for Brock Purdy against the Rams. And an anytime touchdown for Deebo Samuel. So that's what I'm going with this week to play Mojo Fantasy alongside me. Check the link in the description. Use the promo code Krueg, Krueg, and get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. Once again, thanks to Mojo Fantasy for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. All right, one other thing that I do want to play for you, because I want to get your thoughts on Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald is just a spectacular football player. I think everybody understands how great Aaron Donald is. And I asked Chris Forrester, the Niner offensive line coach, about Aaron Donald this week. Mm-hmm. And here's what Forrester had to say. And this is an interesting answer. Here's Chris Forrester earlier this week talking about AD. I was talking to Brendel yesterday. He said that what makes Donald so hard to block is that he's small but strong and fast. So he doesn't give you a big target. You guys have had some success against him. How would you describe him? What makes him the special player that he is in your mind?
Jake nailed it. I mean, he's a guy that's by no means, he's hard to get your hands on, which that's the key to protection. If you can get your hands on a guy and keep him on a guy, you have a guy like Alden Smith who was tall and linear and slippery. You just could never get your hands on him, right? This guy's shorter and stockier and hard to get your hands on. What's funny is you can put together a highlight reel of some players that you probably wouldn't know who they were blocking him at times, because when you do the right things against Aaron, he is a smaller guy, but getting your hands to that spot are almost impossible, and he makes it impossible to do it. Even when you do, he has the counter moves to take it off of him. So he's just got a complete package. There's just not a lot of surface to hit, and he's so strong and so low to the ground that once he gets an edge, once he gets something on you, you don't recover from it. It's over. It's over when it's over. And so you've got to make sure you make it not be over as long as it can be.
It's over when it's over.
Yeah.
Coach, what do you think of Aaron Donald? If I say Aaron Donald, is he better than Mean Joe Green? Is he better than Reggie White? Is he better than Cortez Kennedy? Is he better than Bryant Young?
No.
Is he better than John Randall? I mean,
No.
if you say the greatest defensive tackles of all time, where does Aaron Donald sit on that list?
I mean, below those guys.
Really?
Aaron Donald's
a lot of
playing
people
off-
think that he's super, super special. I don't know.
Exactly. I hear that. But
Warren Sapp, somebody said HR says
yeah,
Warren Sapp.
I hear that. That's nice.
You don't agree?
No. I think he's ridiculously talented. He's one of one as far as skill set and body type. This is the worst display of talent on offensive line that we have ever seen in the NFL. Would you agree with that, Larry? Have they?
I would say O
bad?
lines are at an all time low. Yeah,
They're at an all-time low. Larry, remember Larry Allen? Remember,
I know Larry Allen.
like, Larry, remember, like, Max Gene Gills? Remember Max Starks? Like,
Just talked to Max Starks the other day.
remember, come on, man. Like, I remember growing up watching Body Snatchers, where if you didn't even have the size to even be in the A gap, I don't care how talented you was, like, you not gonna get no penetration. It ain't happening. Like, LaCharles Bentley. Remember LaCharles Bentley?
Yeah, Ohio State played for the Saints.
Like,
Center.
LaCharles, like, play in that era. Like, I just, for me, I think that Aaron Donald is a freak of nature. Like, I don't want to take anything away from, like, him as an athlete, but the game he's playing in today, I just think that, it's kind of like LeBron in the NBA right now. Like, he could play forever. It's not physical enough. Right? He can get down there and do whatever he wants in the paint. There ain't no bigs no more. So I understand what Aaron Donald, like, let me put it like this. When you talk about guys like that, like elite, right? You just said Reggie White, Larry. Reggie White should not be in the same, like, you can't mention Aaron Donald with Reggie White.
The Minister of
that.
Defense.
You cannot.
Reggie White.
Reggie White was unreal. He could have played anywhere. Aaron Donald is great for the era that he's playing in. He's tip of the spear. I'll give you that. But from just line play and what they let you do physically, I'd like to see him play in different eras.
He's faster than those guys. I think there's no question.
But faster. But
he's faster than Mean Joe Green.
Have you ever seen Reggie White get beat up? You ever seen Reggie White get beat an entire game? Game?
Reggie was incredible. I mean, to me, the one thing you can say about Donald is that he is a top 5 guy for sure. Like, okay, so like I would say the top 5 in my opinion. Everybody's got a different rank. Okay,
All time.
all time defensive tackles. I mean,
Wow.
I'm a huge Michael Carter fan.
Right.
Because Michael Carter was one of the strongest interior run defenders of all time. And to me, he's one of the most underrated pro football players in the history of the league, regardless of team. But he didn't really rush the passer after the first couple years. So he can't be on this super list with the elite of the elite. But like Mean Joe Green, Reggie White, Aaron Donald, for sure.
You think
Now,
Aaron Donald's better than John Randall?
I do. I have him better than John Randall, but give me an example. Like some people will say don't forget, if you're old school, don't forget Deacon Jones, because Deacon Jones played defensive end, but he also played defensive tackle. So he played both. But Randall, I think, has to be mentioned. Randy White, the Manster from the Cowboys.
Mention Mandy Wright.
I think Randy White's got to be in the discussion. Warren Sapp, because of the movement abilities, got to be in the discussion. Now, it's before my time, but even some of the old school guys like Merlin Olsen, Alan Page,
Bob
Rosie Greer, Bob Lilly, Carl Eller, Buck Buchanan, these guys, Alex Karras, these guys were great. I would say Vince Wilfork, I think, is really super underrated.
Very underrated.
But to me,
Sam Adams and those boys were underrated.
I mean, Cortez Kennedy. Cortez Kennedy was just an unblockable force of nature. Dan Hampton on the greatest defense that ever played. I'll give you a guy that I met that I really believe's one of the greatest defensive tackles of all time is Jerome Brown, the late Jerome Brown. Jerome Brown was kind of like, I'd say Jerome Brown was Javon Hargrave before Javon Hargrave. He was built like that. He was I'll give you another guy who time is forgotten, but he was an incredible player, is Joe Klecko.
Yes.
Joe Klecko.
Yes, Joe Klecko was very good. He was
I'll give you another one now. He people would be like, "Oh, come on." Geno Atkins for a few years.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yes.
I'll give you another one that I really believe strongly in, and he's a Bay Area guy.
Richard Seymour?
No, I was going to say
Richard Seymour's not a Bay Area guy.
Keith Millard.
I don't know who that is.
Keith Millard. Keith Millard played with Dolman. For Minnesota in the late 80s. Keith Millard. Dave Butts in your neck of the woods for the Redskins was a great player.
I mean, if you really want to do it, this is the thing about D linemen, right?
Bryant Young.
Really
how do you not mention Bryant Young?
Yeah, I mean,
Tim
Bob Golick was nice.
Tim Crumry, I thought, was incredible. Casey Hampton. We forget about Casey Hampton, how great he was on those Steelers teams.
You know who else was sneaky good? Darnell Dockett.
Yes, he was a monster.
Darnell Dockett was the truth at FSU. He's from my neck of the woods. He's from out here. He went to Paint Branch.
If you want to go old school, Jerry Ball. If you want to go super old school, Jethro Pugh.
Dana Stubblefield.
Very good. Leonard Marshall. Big Ted Washington was incredibly strong. So there, and Darnell Dockett was a great one. I'll give you another one that was
Terradome
Brown.
Terradome just put a really good one in the chat. L.C. Greenwood.
Yes.
Good one, Terradome. Good one, Terradome.
I'll give you another one that nobody would ever bring up, but I saw him at Maryland, and he was incredible in the pros for a short amount of time. Is Chris Jenkins. And his kid,
we're not even mentioning him right now, Larry.
Chris Jenkins' kid is at Michigan. Chris Jenkins, but same name, Chris Jenkins with a K. His kid is going to be a first-round pick. He's amazing.
Larry, we ought to be ashamed of ourselves. Hold on. I need to put it in the chat real quick just to even thank him for even saying it, bro. The Sentinels football channel. Guess it real quick before he said it. Don't cheat.
I won't cheat. A great defensive tackle we haven't mentioned. Um, I mean, if you want to go old school, Art Donovan or something like that.
Nah.
Some
We're
people would,
going. We're going like early
Fletcher
90s.
Cox, Sue.
Fletch, not well. Two. You ready for this one? Dexter Manley.
He was a defensive end.
But Dexter Manley, no.
Yeah, he was a defensive end. Him
Yeah,
and
but
Charles Mann
still-
were the end. Butts was inside. Well,
That's
you know who I thought you were going to say?
Who?
Because he really was dominating. Is Haloti Nada.
Haloti Nada is such an unforgotten guy. Injured
Yeah.
RG3.
I'll give you another one that I think he was pretty damn dominant there for a while. Is the Fridge.
You think so?
Oh, the Fridge was a very, very difficult. I've interviewed
but-
Jesse Sapolu, who played opposite Fridge, and he said blocking the Fridge was very difficult. Very difficult. I mean, I'll give you one that is old school, but Curly Culp.
Oh
I mean,
man,
Curly Culp
Jesus
was
Christ.
damn
you're
good.
Taking me back, you're taking me back to the tweed blazers with the Ivy League patches.
Hey,
So
Leroy Glover.
Leroy Glover was a dog.
Yeah.
Did we say the Cowboy yet? Justin
Russell
Smith?
Maryland. Oh no, we
Justin
haven't said
Smith.
Justin Smith.
Yeah, Justin Smith. Like, if you think about it, night. All right, so
There's a lot of good ones here. Gilbert
all right, so
Brown.
let's geek out real quick.
How about
Let's geek
Leon
out.
Lett? Leon
So
Lett.
Leon Lett was a dog. So how about this? What are we trying to say by naming all of these guys? Like, if 10 years from now, right, or 20 years from now, are we going to be able to talk about all of the defensive linemen in the NFL today like we were now? Are there going to be that many great ones? You see what I'm saying? That many guys that stood out.
Well,
and that's
you
why-
have to be a pass rusher because it's
Yeah,
a
but
passing
that's
game.
why I think that
Like,
Aaron
Michael
in a
Carter
way
was
is
not a
not
pass
playing amongst he just missed his window of playing with like the goats, like playing with so many good like I remember there was a time where the mark of a good D lineman wasn't necessarily how many sacks you got, but just how long you played, like how much you played. Like you could play years on top of years. Like Warren Sapp played a long time. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys played a long time. Is Aaron Donald's consistency over time, does it warrant being with those guys? I mean,
The other one that's really interesting to me is, do the Rams wind up moving guys like Stafford and Donald? Because the Rams could impact this year's Super Bowl. They're not going to win it, but they could impact this year's Super Bowl race if they move those guys for picks. And I think both those guys would bring them a lot of picks.
yeah.
A lot of picks. You know, if you're team whatever and you add Aaron Donald, oh my God, watch out. Any team, any big-time team that adds Aaron Donald, watch out. Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, says, as a basketball coach, it takes me half a game or less to know what a player is or who is the best player on the court. In football, how many games does it take to know who a player is specifically Purdy? What do you think, Coach? That's a good question. How many games do you feel like it takes before you have a full feel for how good a football player is? In this case, he wants to know about a quarterback.
Well, in real time, you don't know, right? There's two sides of evaluating a player. It's you can binge watch them because you're watching them after the fact, so you get to see continuous games of him in a short amount of time, so you can just kind of build your own conclusion. Or you're in the middle of it, right, where the perspective is literally 2 inches away from your face, and sometimes you have to back up 10,000 feet just to get scope and perspective. So when you're in the middle of it, you do let certain indicators and milestones let you know that you're kind of dealing with something where if you figuring out what the kid struggles with, finding out where his floor is, you know, how bad is he? And I know that sounds bad to say about a player, but from a coaching perspective, you do want to know the floor of your kid. Like, all right, well, I know he won't do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know he won't go out there and operate on this fashion. So maybe we have seen the floor of Brock. You know, like we can't keep talking about his games as games are being played, right, Larry? Like after a while, it's gonna get pretty ridiculous saying, "Well, he's only played 13." It's like the mother who keeps calling their kid, that keeps aging their kid by months. It's like he's 127 months. It's like no, he's 5.
Seriously,
Like,
that's
yeah,
that's annoying.
That's so annoying. I hate that. Right? So
Yeah, no, you're right. But I would say multiple years. Why? Because in pro football, you have to be able to deal with the turnover that comes on the coaching side of it and still maintain what you do. And so it's like give you an example. Did if you just went one season, you could make an argument that Nick Foles is an all-time great because in that one season, in that one team with those coaches and that one, he got into a nice rhythm. That's why you have to see it over multiple seasons. Joe Flacco for one season was really, really good. Heck, Jeff Hostetler for one playoff run in 90 was really damn good. I mean, it wasn't like he wasn't good. He was good, but it just didn't last. So I would say you need to show what you've got over multiple seasons, because if it's multiple seasons, most likely there's going to be coaching turnover, and then you're going to find out. Like Matt Ryan had an MVP season with Shanahan, but then Shanahan left, and in came Sarkisian, and Matt Ryan never was the same player again. So how much of it was Matt Ryan? How much of it was, the offensive coordinator? And Brian Billick always says the hardest thing to determine is the quarterback, how good evaluating the quarterback versus what's going on around the quarterback. That's good or bad. If you have a terrible line, it's like, Steve Young looked bad in Tampa. Well, why? Because Tampa didn't have a good line. He was a Hall of Famer with the Niners. It's the same guy. So you got to be able to evaluate the quarterback versus what's going on around the quarterback. I'd say it's multiple seasons. I think you have to watch a quarterback, do it for a year, watch the league adjust, and if the league's adjustment doesn't really turn off that guy's water and he's still great, odds are he's pretty great. And I think that's what we're seeing with Allen and obviously Mahomes. It's what we're going to see with Hurts. It's it wasn't just a hot year. It was their good quarterback. So I think like last year was Brock Purdy's first year. By the end of this year, you're going to have a real good sense for what Brock Purdy is, I think.
Yeah.
By the end of this year.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. Be able to see the entire league, see how he handles it and how the team responds to him and how he responds to dips in the year. But I'm here to say it. Like, if he doesn't struggle or have any, like, dips in production throughout this year, you got to give it up. You got to give it up. You can't go through an entire year without knowing what the kid is. If he goes through the year and at this clip, this processing, doing things the right way, I don't care if we win a Super Bowl or not. We better not be having quarterback conversations. It's so hard to get one, Larry. You know this. It's so hard to get one. You know what I'm saying? That even if you get close, why do you think I was stumping for Trey so hard? It's so hard to get one that even when you get close, you owe it to yourself. It's a responsibility to see that thing through. So if Brock goes through the year with this type of execution, this type of performance, this type of command of the offense, but we don't win, like we're not winning or we don't win a Super Bowl, I would be infuriated if we are having any type of, Kirk Cousins is free, maybe we should start looking at, like, then all of the Brock Purdy fans were full of shit from the very beginning. They were full of shit. Right?
Speaking of Kirk Cousins, that kind of leads us into another topic that I think is interesting. There is a report out here that the Niners back in 2017 offered an awful lot, including multiple picks and players. They ultimately took Solomon Thomas. But before they took Solomon Thomas, according to Jay Gruden, the former Washington head coach,
Another one.
He basically said on a radio show Thursday, he says, I won't say who contacted me, but I was contacted by someone in San Francisco who told me they were very interested in Kirk Cousins. Kirk was getting ready to go on his second franchise tag, and I know they wanted him. The Shanahans love Kirk, and he loves them. I don't blame them. They brought him in here and taught him good ball, and we were fortunate to keep Kirk and work with him. Washington eventually let Cousins walk for nothing in free agency in 2018. He joined the Vikings, and he's been there ever since. But according to Jay Gruden, he says they would have given up more than just the number 2 pick. You're talking about a $150 million quarterback. You're going to get 2 first-round picks and a player, or 2 1s and a 2. You look at all the teams that are struggling. What don't they have? He had opportunities to go to San Francisco, the Jets, and Minnesota. We could have traded him and made our team better. Instead, we got a comp 3rd-round pick. It makes no sense. So he's talking in frustration that that Cousins left the Redskins and went to Minnesota. But what do you think? I mean, there's always been so much talk about how the Niners love Kirk Cousins. If the Niners had made that trade at the beginning of the Shanahan regime and traded all that, let's say multiple 1s and a player or 2 for Kirk Cousins, would they have their Super Bowl ring by now?
No. We don't know that. Kirk Cousins wasn't even at the level of quarterback he was now when he first got to Minnesota. Kirk Cousins got developed by Sean McVay. I don't think that we will be where we are now, because let's just say, all right, let's do it their way. Kirk Cousins is an amazing quarterback who's everything that Kyle Shanahan wanted. He operates the offense perfectly. That doesn't mean we still get Nick Bosa. That doesn't mean that we still have Brandon.
It's probably likely you don't get Nick Bosa.
It's very likely that we don't get Nick Bosa. I'm just trying to be fair about it. But hell no, we don't get Nick Bosa.
Right. You're not going to get the second pick in the draft unless
I'm trying
Cousins
to be nice
got hurt.
to everybody in the chat right now who doesn't.
Well, I mean,
I get but no, we don't get Nick Bosa.
They got Bosa because Jimmy got hurt. Theoretically, Cousins could have got hurt, but I know what you're saying. They wouldn't. Yeah. They likely would not have had Nick Bosa.
No, we wouldn't have had Nick Bosa. We wouldn't even have had the team that we have. We don't have Christian McCaffrey and being able to move around the way we do, because guess what? Kirk Cousins wants guaranteed money.
And he made big
bread going to Minnesota. He's half the reason why Minnesota's losing, because they can't really all put it together, because his ass is getting paid top dollar and playing half dollar, playing like 50 cents, getting top dollar. So my thing is that no, for what he brings to us fiscally, it's hard to build a team around him. And you're seeing it in Minnesota in certain aspects. They hit on Justin Jefferson, but that defense is old, right? They're a shell of themselves. And I don't think that having Kirk Cousins here is necessarily the best thing that would have happened for us. On top of it is that it is well documented how Washington and the Shanahans do not get along, specifically ownership, and how there's no way in the world that even if all right, so put it like this. If we know that Dan Snyder doesn't rock with Kyle or Mike Shanahan, right? And they did the deal anyway. As fans, wouldn't you have a problem for the fact that we got him knowing that we overpaid for him? Like, that would be a shitstorm within of itself on even getting him here for what we had to spend to get him. Like, the scrutiny on Kirk to perform right away would have been at an all-time high. So I just don't. No,
well, and he would have been compared to Mahomes.
History.
Right? I mean, he would have been compared to Mahomes.
Yeah.
Because they still passed on Mahomes and Watson.
Yeah. He would have been compared to Mahomes. It would have been like,
hey, you traded all this for Cousins, and you bypassed Mahomes. When you didn't go quarterback, then at least you could say, well, we weren't going to go quarterback here. And so there was a little less pressure as Mahomes emerged. But if you had gone quarterback or traded for a quarterback and Mahomes had emerged as he did, they immediately would have been compared, and that comparison would have made Cousins look bad, and subsequently the Niners would have looked bad. A couple more supers here. Mm-hmm. Pissed off brother Bob says, Coach Forster, he says, gotta love that guy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Coach Forster is really erudite. He's very good at just his work. I really, when you listen to him speak, you do get a wealth of knowledge into the game. He's very good.
Pterodome says stats don't dictate it, but the one technique who gave us trouble was Gilbert Brown of the Green Bay Packers. Demanded doubles. Gilbert Brown was just one of the broadest, widest two-gapping tackles the league's ever seen. He didn't really move that well.
I saw what Pterodome put in the chat that he wishes that the Niners would kind of take a flyer on a nasty anchoring one technique like a Terrence Knighton. Remember Terrence Knighton that played at Denver?
Big body guy, yeah.
Yeah, but I text him back in the chat. I said, I just think that we don't need all of that. We had that. His name was DJ Jones. We had an anchoring one tech or a shade that could get in there and actually hold things down. So I think and if you look at DJ Jones,
just couldn't afford him.
Yeah, if you look at DJ Jones juxtaposed to Terrence Knighton dwarfs. Terrence Knighton dwarfs DJ Jones, but at the same time, DJ Jones got it done way better than just being a space eater, right? Like, if you remember when we had DJ Jones, he was just ascending into like his elite or like his bag status of being a talented one tech, because his biggest issues weren't his motor, it wasn't his pad level, it was his feet. Remember how I used to always talk about in the during times where Coach Krueg tells me I'm the best D lineman in the world if I just stay low and keep my feet moving. If I never stop moving my feet, I'm the best D lineman in the NFL. So, and Coach Krueg used to mimic that. So I already knew that, losing DJ Jones and losing Buck were just the two. As far as our defensive line is concerned, there's three things that happened, or transactions that happened with our D line, that I will never get over. Getting rid of Buck, getting rid of DJ Jones, and spending all that money on the DN that we traded for from Kansas City. His name is slipping me right now.
D Ford.
Hey,
I'll go further back. Trading Charles Haley.
Trading Charles Haley is. I'm talking about this machine.
Trading Charles.
Yeah.
Haley.
All right. So yes, overall, trading Charles Haley is number one.
That would be like giving the Chiefs Bosa right now. Could you imagine if all of a sudden it was announced the Niners have traded Nick Bosa to the Chiefs?
Yeah. It's
for like nothing, basically.
But but this is what happens when we get to talk in hindsight, right? We get to talk in hindsight. We get to act like we had all the answers back then. But getting rid of Buck hurt.
There's a rule of thumb, and I really believe this. And old football guy I used to work with had this as his philosophy. You never trade guys on your front seven, especially guys on your front four that consistently command doubles. If a guy commands a double, you are gifted, you're blessed, and just count your blessings and go on to the next thing. Never trade anybody on your front four that commands a double team. If you just live by that as a rule, you'll go far in football.
Yeah.
Because they're rare. It's so rare. And when you got a guy that commands a double, changes the dynamic. And now the Niners have two. They got Hargrave, who commands doubles inside, and you got Bosa that commands doubles outside. And suddenly, the other guys are looking pretty damn good. Drake Jackson just had 3 sacks. Armstead was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Kinlaw played one of his best games. Why? Hargrave gets doubled. Bosa gets doubled. Everybody else is getting singled. And so you gotta win. You gotta win one-on-one matchups
Larry,
in the NFL.
Hey Larry, Bozyman just got at you in the chat. That was a hell of a clapback. He said, so we shouldn't have gotten rid of Buckner, who always commanded doubles. Bars.
You should never have gotten rid of him. Yes. The answer is yes. So the 49ers never should have gotten rid of Buckner, who always
hold on. Randall, hey, they spitting in the chat. Randall said couldn't afford DJ, but got Hargrave.
Well, what happened? First of all, DJ is not.
What we doing?
First of all, DJ was like my guy. I mean,
Right.
DJ was like, and he I had him on 20 times on the air. I mean, I love the guy. I mean, he was like a brother to me. I think I love DJ. DJ's just good people. And I knew he was good. I loved him at Ole Miss. I knew that was a steal on day one. I've interviewed the guy 30 times. They just didn't want to pay. I mean, Denver gave him, I think, $30 million guaranteed. Denver broke him off big. I mean, I have to go look up that contract, but it was a lot. It was a lot. And he had some ankle problems, let's be honest. He had missed some time with the ankle. He wasn't on the field consistently. But, the bottom line is DJ is enormously strong, and he controlled the A-gap, and you couldn't run inside. And if you ask Niner fans, and I've talked to DJ about this, I'm firmly in the belief that the Niners would have beaten the Chiefs if DJ had been healthy in that Super Bowl. Why? Because the Niners shut off the run.
He was
game
already
completely.
getting home. They was holding us all goddamn game.
Damian Williams ran the ball effectively in that game against the Niners. That was the one game they didn't really stop the run. Damian and they would have with DJ. And I've mentioned it to DJ. I said, DJ, if you had been healthy, you guys would have won that game. He's like, I know. But you can't say that too loud.
So let me ask you this.
Especially if you're him, because it makes it look like
because Buck was a leader, and in my opinion, he's
got to pay him.
Eric. He's better than Eric, in my opinion.
But Eric also is local. Eric's also
we ain't. You about to make me.
I'm not
we
saying
ain't
no,
talking
I'm just,
about being
I'm
local,
telling you,
man.
no,
We
but
talking
I'm
about
telling
being
you
good.
why they did it. They did
okay.
it because Eric took a team-friendly deal, and he's local, and they love him. He's a leader. They wanted to keep both. They loved Eric off the field, and they thought they could replicate Buck in a deal with Kinlaw. And Buck is a very, very special player. That's all. And Kinlaw is good, but he's had knee problems. This year, he might play his best football. And so far, so good. But, Buck was special. Very special. Buck had a club move. He had a swim move. He had pass rushing moves.
He has a motor.
He had a motor. He had size, and he had moves. And Kinlaw's probably bigger and stronger, but he doesn't have those moves. He doesn't have that pass rush ability.
Yeah.
And now they gave Hargrave the money they didn't want to give to Buckner. They finally paid Hargrave.
So let me ask you this. So do you think that Javon is kind of getting held on to just so they don't show how big of a blunder it was? Like they're just holding out against hope by keeping him on the field, because Javon was all right, for what it's worth, he was a first round pick,
right?
A high first round pick,
right?
Not working out. And
he's had a lot. I mean, Coach, I think what the Niners would say.
I'm a huge defender of Javon. I would never.
I think what the Niners would say is he just hasn't been healthy. He hasn't been healthy. He's got a bad knee. He's a big man with long legs. He's got to play with leverage. He's got
a great body.
D-line is the king. It's the position on the field that your technique matters a ton. And so that's why you see older DNs and older D tackles, because they get technique rich and then they can still play even as they physically kind of erode. Yeah. You've got to be able to play low. Well, he's now playing low. His knees are healthy. I just talked to him 2 days ago, and he's like, hey, this is the first time I've gotten to this point in the year where my knees feel good. He's not even wearing sleeves.
That's a blessing.
Yeah, he's mentally in the right spot.
Yeah, thank you for talking me down.
No, but I mean, you're right. He hasn't done it. He hasn't done it to this point.
Yeah, but he does deserve grace because, all right, so even though his body has betrayed him,
he's not a pass rusher.
He's not
very strong. You know what he is to me? I think he's Ted Washington. He's Ted Washington. He's enormously strong, and he can take on multiple offensive linemen at one time and absorb those bodies. And so on this team, are you going to see Javon Kinlaw sack the quarterback? Not very much. Are you going to see Javon Kinlaw make a ton of plays against the run? He's not going to have big tackle totals. What he's going to do is not going to show up in the box score. It's only going to show up on the film, and that is just what he did in this last game. If he can stay healthy, he's going to absorb bodies, prevent O-linemen from climbing to the second level, prevent O-linemen from rolling up on the legs of Greenlaw and Warner, and free up those guys' legs to go run and hit. And that's what he's there for. And as long as he stays healthy and takes on those double teams and absorbs offensive lineman bodies all year long, he's definitely worth his weight. But the other thing is, you say, why is he still here? Because the way his contract is structured, if they trade him, they take a major penalty. So it's like, why trade him? Why not just – and now he worked really hard in this offseason. He lived at the facility, and they're giving him a shot to fulfill that potential. They really need him to give them good snaps all year. They need him to stop the run. They really do. And how can he do it?
He's going to have to be there and actually he's going to have to be a willing contributor. But,
he's going to have to stay healthy.
That's for Javon, his pad level notwithstanding, it really is just his body. He plays with great fight. He's strong as all get out. He's tenacious. He's had one thing that I feel like Javon doesn't get highlighted on Javon because he doesn't play as much is that he's a very heady player. Those picks on those screens or those near picks on those screens that he always seems to have a knack for, that's not for lack of trying. That's instinct. You know what I'm saying? He does play very well as far as knowing where he needs to be on the field. So,
and he plays hard. That's the other thing too.
Hard.
He does play hard. So you're talking about a guy who just has to continue to play with leverage, with a bent knee. Because if he comes up out of his stance, he loses leverage, he loses power, then he gets kicked out of the club like he did against Kelsey in the NFC Championship game, and everybody's going, what's going on? But if he just plays with bent knee, he has tremendous strength at the point. So it's just, he's just got, they're going to play him in a rotation, obviously, all year. And when he's in there, he's just got to be able to play with leverage and play hard. If he plays with leverage and plays hard, he's going to be a major asset to the team. He's not going to make a ton of sacks or tackles, but other guys are.
Yeah, I mean, Javon still deserves our grace. He's young. He's doing everything the right way. It's just a little bit of dreams deferred on what we thought we were going to get immediately from him. But since then, he's rebounded quite well. I mean, one thing that I will say about this team is that they don't do well on keeping anybody around who don't deserve to be around. And as they should. This is the meritocracy, this is the NFL. So the fact that Javon still does have belief around him in our organization does tell me something. Because, these jokers will cut bait in a heartbeat. So, the fact that they're still hanging on to him, they see the work. They're there with him every day, and not only the work, but I take it as that he is an asset. He is needed, right? So, that's very important.
They got to have him. Hey, last one before we jet. This is kind of interesting. Do you see this week? Khalil Mack says the 49ers offered 2 firsts and players for him in 2018, and that the Raiders said, oh, God, we can't trade him. We can't trade him to the Niners. No. We'll trade him anywhere but the Niners. Supposedly the Niners had the best offer for Khalil, and John Lynch was going after Khalil, and the Raiders just wouldn't make the deal, and instead they traded him to the Bears for a lesser deal. And now he's a Charger, interestingly enough, playing with Joey Bosa. How would the Nick Bosa Khalil Mack combo have fared?
Oh Lord. You know what? It
How would that have been?
It would have did better. It would have did exactly what, if not more, than what we expected the D Ford Nick Bosa combo to be. It would have been that plus more, because Khalil Mack can actually stop the run. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I just never understood why these stories come out afterwards and why they're surprising. This is competition, and really on a higher level, Larry, you know that this league is essentially a billionaire's fantasy league. This is essentially what the NFL is. It's fantasy football for billionaires. Like
Jerry Jones.
Yeah, they all get their teams together. They sit up and probably sit at a table. Everybody has their laptops out. So what do you got to do? What are you guys doing with Dallas this week? So it's like for them, they look at the competition as a lot more direct than we do, because we're so far away from how things are happening. But yeah, it makes perfect sense for owners and GMs to say no. Like, I don't care how much business sense this makes. There's business sense, and then there's common sense, right? And I don't care what this has to do with making the right move. This slaps in the face of common sense, so we're not going to do it. If I was the Raiders too, you know what? Let's be real. They potentially could have had their own Charles Haley on their hands if he would have came here, and the rest is history, right? It would have been like,
oh, yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean? Like,
Raider
look at it from their
fans,
perspective.
Yeah, they would have lost it.
They'd have been like, dude, look at the Niners with Khalil Mack, and we did that, right?
Hey,
so
yeah, I mean, but that would have been incredible. All right, let's do this. We've got 540 people in the room. I've got one last topic I want to throw the coach. Let me play 1 minute of commercials. We'll be back in just 1 minute with the final topic of the day, and then we'll all get on with our Saturday. But first, we are brought to you our brand new sponsor, Jurens. Hey, everyone, it's Larry Krueger with Jurens Distributing Company. For over a half century, Jurens has been the cornerstone of excellence, trusted by Sacramento's finest restaurants, bars, and casinos. But now they're excited to announce that Jurens' exceptional products will be coming directly to you. That's right. Check out their new website, Jurens.com, Jurins.com. Jurens has a vast catalog with everything you need to elevate your kitchen and craft, from premium cocktail mixes to top-notch kitchen essentials that stand up to the rigors of a commercial kitchen. And here's the best part. When you shop at Jurens.com, you enjoy free nationwide shipping. That's right, free shipping. Jurens is able to offer customers best-in-class prices on all their products because they buy directly from the manufacturer and they cut out the middleman. But wait, there's more. For a limited time, get a fantastic 10% off your entire order by using the promo code Krueg, Krueg, at checkout. Make sure to check the link in the description and use that promo code Krueg, Krueg, at Jurens.com.
So New York Style Sausage was started over 7 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York Style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never going to deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it. Hands down.
Hey, do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it. Guaranteed.
All right, welcome back on the Krueg Show. The coach hanging out. We got one last topic before we call it quits. All right, we're 1 week into the NFL season. We talk about the season, and then all of a sudden we see 1 week of games, and then a lot of times people overreact to what they saw in week one. Sometimes teams that are going to be good lose in week one. Sometimes teams that are going to be bad win in week one. You just never know. But based on what you saw in week one, is there a team that won or lost outside of the Niners that you said, wow, I was really impressed by this team after week one, Coach? Any team stand out to you?
Detroit
Looked good, huh?
Detroit was
their
very
O-line
impressive.
is incredible.
Impressive, man. God, their O-line is impressive. They look like a real O-line. They're impressive.
Panay Sewell is just
He's worth
one of the most
billing.
dominating right
He's
tackles
worth
I think I've ever seen.
And you know what's crazy is, and a little bit of me thought that he may be like a little too athletic, meaning that he wasn't as tough, right? Because he's just so preoccupied with how well he can move on the field. But he's so nasty. His disposition is, I love the way he plays. But I really like Detroit. I really like Jacksonville. Their defense looks really good. Dallas looked good. The entire team looked good. I would say those are the three teams. I will say this.
So you got Detroit, Dallas, and who's your third?
Jacksonville,
And Jacksonville.
and Dallas. For me, who didn't look good to me?
Yeah.
Philly. Philly didn't look good last night. The night before last, they didn't look that well, especially
on offense. Their
on
offense in the first half was
yeah,
bad.
but they were really clunky. They were just not smooth. And really, if I had a gun to my head, Jalen Hurts does not look as good as he did last year. He doesn't. So that was surprising. If you want to talk about shockers, that was shocking to me because they had a remarkable offseason, and I didn't see this coming. They won the game, right? But I feel like they won the game in spite of Jalen Hurts.
For me, I got two teams in each conference that jumped out as impressive. In the NFC, I agree with your Lions wholeheartedly. I mean, the Lions really look good. They've got some nice weapons. They've got a really good offensive line. And then on defense, you've got Aiden Hutchinson. They've got a much better secondary. Brian Branch, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Those are two outstanding additions to their secondary.
I don't know how he got over there, Chauncey.
Yeah, Chauncey, that was a great pickup. I mean, that was the guy the Niners should have picked up, to be honest. But anyway, Detroit, to me, looked really good. The other team in the NFC that looked really good was Green Bay. Now, Green Bay's got Jordan Love. I don't know much about Jordan Love. I didn't watch him in college. I didn't study him in the draft. But, I mean, between Aaron Jones, who's now a little dinged up, Christian Watson, who's also a little dinged up, but they still have Romeo Doubs. They've got Jaden Reed. They've got a couple rookie tight ends in Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft that are decent. They've got a decent offensive line. But on the defensive side of the ball, man, I forgot. Green Bay's got a lot there. I mean, Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness, Carl Brooks, all on their front line. Their linebacking core, Quay Walker, Devondre Campbell, Preston Smith. And then on the back end, Darnell Savage at free safety's damn good. Jair Alexander's damn good. They've got some players. I mean, Green Bay, I kind of thought, no Rodgers, put a line through Green Bay. Now, Detroit and Green Bay, to me, both looked really good. In the AFC, I'm with you on Jaguars. Man, the Jaguars, because the Jaguars, first of all, I forgot how good
Especially
Calvin
their
Ridley.
defense.
Well, yeah, no, it's definitely the D. But I mean, they have Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones, and now they've got Evan Ingram. They got two backs, Tank Bigsby, Etienne. They got obviously Trevor Lawrence. But on defense, those two tackles in the middle, those Fatakazi, Foloranzo, and Gotsis from Denver, they got some big-bodied guys inside. Then you have Josh Allen off the edge, Devin Lloyd, the kid from Yale, Alakun, the linebacker, he's damn good. And then the secondary, I mean, Tyson Campbell's a terrific young corner. Darius Williams, very underrated player. So, I mean, they just, to me, Jacksonville looks really, really good on defense. And then the other team in the AFC that I didn't really spend a lot of time thinking about, but man, they look good to me, are the Browns.
Really?
I mean, because the Browns have a good O-line and a good D-line. On offensive line, they've got Jedrick Wills and Batonio on the left side.
Did you see how Deshaun looked, though? What'd you think about how Deshaun
looked terrible. Deshaun looked terrible, but I got to think that he'll get better. And he does have weapons. I mean, he's got a running game in Nick Chubb. He's got Njoku, Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mean, they have some decent receivers. But I really like them on both sides of the ball because I like their D-line too. Myles Garrett, Shelby Harris, Dalvin Tomlinson, Jordan Elliott, Zadarius Smith, JOK, Denzel Ward on the back end, Thornhill, Emerson, Newsome. I like the Browns. I think the Browns, to me, it seems like every year the team that's good on the line of scrimmage, there's always one team that's good on the line of scrimmage that people don't think about. To me, it's the Browns. Now, you're right about Watson. Watson's got to play better than he did. But if Watson gets going, they do have a good D-line, and they have a good O-line. Mm-hmm. And they've got some weapons. So the Browns might – don't sleep on the Browns. And the other thing I'll say is, Jonathan Taylor is going to be traded probably in a month.
You think so?
And I don't want to see him in Dallas. I don't want to see him in Philly. I don't want to see him in Kansas City. I don't want to see him in Buffalo. That's a concern. Is like who gets Jonathan Taylor? Because if Dallas gets Jonathan Taylor, that could be bad. That could be bad.
Yeah, well, they're one away. They get Jonathan Taylor with Pollock. Right. That's exactly what Dallas needs. They need that controlling run game. Do you really think they're going to move Jonathan Taylor? You think they're going to move him before the year is out?
I do. I think they're going to move him. I think they're going to move him at the deadline to somebody, and I'm not sure who it's going to be. But we'll see. It
better not be us.
Well, I'll say this: I'm okay if the Niners jumped in there if no other needs, showed themselves. But I get the feeling, and tell me if you think I'm right or wrong on this. We've been talking about trading for offensive tackles and defensive ends, and nobody ever mentions defensive backs. But man, Womack's already down. They said goodbye to Jameson. I think the secondary could be the area where the Niners look to add it at the deadline. I'm not saying they're going to trade for Jalen Ramsey or anything.
Hey, we got McDonald's at the house. We still got Darrell Luter Jr.
Yeah. All
right. So, hey, we got McDonald's at the house. We ain't going to no drive-thru yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got go back home and eat what you got first. So, we got to see what we got in Darrell Luter Jr. and the guys that we have first before we start shopping. I'm not there yet. That's all I'm here to say. I'm not there yet.
I love was it Raw where Eddie Murphy's
you got
talking
McDonald's.
About the hamburger. McDonald's. Mom's got a hamburger with big pieces of onion. He's like, that's a hamburger.
That's not McDonald's.
That's a McDonald's?
He's like,
that
you got the ketchup with the pink dough rolling down your hand.
Anytime you talk McDonald's, I think of the father from Good Times in Coming to America
Oh,
They've
yeah.
got McDonald's. We've got McDowell's.
Oh, yeah. He's like,
They've
said
got
they
a
got the
seeded
gold-
bun. Our bun is seedless.
no seeds. They've got the golden arches. We've got the golden arcs.
McDowell's.
Yeah. Welcome to McDowell's.
Nothing better than coming to America.
He's like,
all right,
hey,
Coach.
You like working here? All right. He's like, just stay off that shit, son.
How about he's got a hot tub in his place, and he's like, I don't want to live here. I want to go someplace where it's
More
real
poor. Yeah.
more poor. And the guy's like, yeah, you can take my place. It's a real
It's a real shithole.
It's a real shithole.
He's like, you can enter. He's like, who is you? This is the prince. He's not the prince. Who told you? Yo, we can go and come to America. We gonna come into America all day.
How about all the debates about Joe Lewis in the barber shop in the Coming to America?
Oh my god, man!
Some of the greatest scenes in America's cinema, right there.
Taste the soup. Taste the soup.
All right, I want everybody in the chat right now, close to 500 people, to go sign up for the Coach's Show. Coach, tell everybody the name of your show, name of your channel. There's a lot of people here that are finding out about your channel for the first time. We want to give you as much of a push as possible. Coach also will be on with Vish in the post game tomorrow after Niners Rams. But tell people the name of your channel, where they can find it.
I'm putting it in the chat right now. It's Bang Bang.
Here it is.
It's the name of the channel is Bang Bang. It's Bang Bang _49. Want you guys to come through, man. Check out the channel. I'm trying to put up dope stuff for you guys. We're gonna have a call-in show coming in the coming weeks. We got the scouting reports that I'm doing every Sunday or every game day. Of course, I've got Larry on Saturdays. I've got Grant on Thursdays. Me and Vish are doing a post-game live show, and we're gonna start bringing in a full live all 22 film review. All right, called The Trenches.
What day?
Really, we're going to try to be started on Thursdays. And what we're going to do is we're going to tease it on Thursdays with Grant. Give him 10 minutes to show kind of like the hot points of the games. And then we're going to roll right into my channel and start doing some things with the trenches. So a lot of guys, we love to talk about the pass game and, the DBs and all of that sexy stuff. But on the line of scrimmage is where the game is won or lost, right? And this is where you can see men made and men killed. So come on over. I'm gonna have all of the good promo and the artwork set up for you guys, so you guys know where to find me, and we're gonna have a blast, man.
Patrick Seeley says, I'll subscribe. Joshua Edwards, more coming to America. Sexual chocolate.
I believe the children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way.
Remember this? Good morning, neighbors. And then you hear, fuck you. Yes, fuck you. Yes, fuck you too. Fuck you too.
That boy is good. Good and terrible. That's my movie.
That was just one. And who's the gigantic chubby comedian who was in there?
Which one?
Who's no longer with us?
Did he work at? He worked at the.
He worked at McDowell.
Louis Anderson.
He's
like, see, this week I'm on lettuce. Last week I was on fries. Next week I'm gonna be on burgers, and that's when the big butts start rolling in. Dog, that movie was star-studded. Did you know? Like, even during that scene, Samuel Jackson was the stick-up man.
Was he? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That was a great movie, Coming to America. And I didn't even. Did you even bother with the remake? Did you see the remake? I didn't see the remake.
No, I'm not going.
I heard it was bad. I heard it was really bad. The Real Goat says the only happy ending Jimmy giving the Raiders won't be football related. Yes, we're winning the bowl on Raiders turf. Let's go, baby. That's right. Super Bowl
Hyped
this
about
year
it.
in Vegas. Coach, if the Niners go to the bowl, you got to come out for Vegas.
Oh, bro.
We got to do Vegas.
Bro.
I mean,
if we go to the Super Bowl.
We're doing Vegas.
I'm coming out there, bro. It's gonna be so lit. Larry, we may not even make the fucking show, bro. You know it's gonna go down. You know it's gonna go down, dog.
We are gonna party in Vegas huge if the Niners go to the Super Bowl. Because when the Niners went into New Orleans for the Niners-Ravens, that was an incredible week.
Yeah.
But Vegas would even be better.
Dude, I can't wait. It's going to be good, man. Next show is going to be even better. And, this is just my first week in the content creation space, man. So it's been fun, and ready to do great things, man. This season, I'm going to tell you one thing that I feel about this year. It's not going to be boring. It's not going to be boring. This season's going to take us for some turns, man.
Oh, God. The way you said that, I'm like, I don't know. Can I handle turns?
You ain't got no choice. Let's go.
I know. All right, I'm going to go final score Rams. I'm going Niners 31, Rams 13. 31-13.
31-13?
Yep.
I'm going 28-20.
28-20 Niners. 28-20. Coach, everybody sign up for Coach's channel. Coach, have a great weekend. Have a great post game with Vish. We will talk to you next Saturday.
Saturday, man.
Next Saturday. We'll do next Saturday. The Niners will have played again because they're playing next
Thursday. Yeah, they got a Thursday game, right?
So we'll be looking kind of back at Niners-Giants next Saturday. But, Coach, always great. Have a great Saturday, man. Always great to see you.
Always. Thanks for having me, everybody. It's a great show, Larry.
All right, everybody. Have a great Saturday. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you ask.